So this is gonna take some explaining. So this was originally posted on my school account YouTube channel when it got taken down on my birthday when I turned a year older. So I'm re-uploading it here. If this isn't your kind of thing, don't worry, you don't have to watch this. But for those who are, I hope you find this video helpful.
I, Olivier, Petion, find Latin very difficult and so hard to understand. It's like impossible to remember all these charts. Oh, if only there was a collective group of 3 individuals took the initiative to help busies like me.
Why, hello there. My name is Luke Joseph.
And I'm Filipe Madrona. We too struggle with Latin, not knowing what to do, but look ahead, my fellow beesies, where there are some perks to learning Latin.
For example, when learning Latin, it will require you to think about how each word works in comparison to the other. This will help improve your grammar, which can help you later on when you take the SATs. Plus, if you take your studying seriously, you'll find translations to become easier, almost like a puzzle.
Wow, this sounds so cool and awesome.
Indeed it does.
Here's a friendly review of the main topics we have learned this year. In Latin, nouns are categorized into 5 declensions. We will only go over the first 3 declensions, first, second, and third. Each noun has 5 cases, each with their own function.
Each declension has their own endings that you need to memorize. Like seriously, please memorize these endings. It will greatly help you later on. To decline a noun, you look at the genitive singular, the second word, and find the stem by removing the ending. Then add your declension endings.
Who's that?
Well, in this case, that's puella, puellai, girl. And you would go to the genitive singular form, puellai, and minus the AE to get your stem, puel. Now you add your first declension endings to decline puella, puellai.
What's that line above the A?
That is a long mark. The ablative singular will always have one.
What about that girl over there on her horse? How do I decline those words?
You want to give it a shot, Oliver?
Okay, so I would go to the genitive singular form, equi, and minus the I.
Correct.
So I would have a stem of EQU, and then add my declension endings?
Yes, well done. Well done indeed.
So how do you decline that templum templi word?
Now, go to the genitive singular form, templi, minus the long I to get your stem. Next, you add your declension endings.
Wait, why does the nominative plural have an A? Isn't that the first declension ending?
Well, this is a neuter now. And remember, every single stinking day, neuter nominative, accusative, plural, and in A.
Now, our last example, corpus corporis, body, is a third declension neuter noun.
How do you know?
Well, if we look at our genitive singular form, corporis, it ends in is.
Oh,
As usual, you go to the genitive singular form. Next, we take away the is to get our stem. Once we have our stem, we add our third declension neuter endings, thus successfully declining corpus corporis.
Quick note. The nominative singular doesn't have an ending. It will be the first word in the noun. Also, because this noun is neuter third declension, the nominative and accusative plural end in A, and the nominative and accusative singular are the same. These are the normal third declension endings.
In Latin, adjectives have forms, masculine, feminine, and neuter. To decline an adjective noun pair, you first decline the noun.
Then, you go to the feminine form of the adjective for the stem. Then, you decline the adjective with the endings that match the gender of the noun.
For example, golden statue.
Now we want to decline the noun first, so we go to the genitive singular form minus the AE to get our stem. Then add our declension endings.
Now that we have declined our noun, we will decline our adjective. To decline golden, we first have to look at the gender of the noun. Statue or statui is feminine. Therefore, we will be using first declension endings. Now you want to remove the A from area up to get your stem. Now we add the first declension endings. And voila, you have declined golden statue.
Do the noun and adjective match in declension?
Good question. No, only in gender. You can actually mix and match declensions for adjective-noun pairs.
Let's do another one. Happy girl.
We've already declined voila poile. So we go to the gender of the noun, which is also feminine. Now, third declension adjectives can have less than 3 forms.
Felix Felicis is third declension, one termination, or it's one form. Every third declension adjective is declined as an I stem. In this case, Felix accounts for all 3 genders. To get the stem, you would go to Felicis and minus the IS. Then we would add our third declension I stem endings, thus declining happy girl.
Quick note, adjectives can also have degrees to them. Positive, which are normal adjectives, comparative, which are more or of an adjective, and superlative, which is most or est of an adjective.
In Latin, verbs have conjugations / categories, just like noun declensions. So you would do a verb synopsis, not decline the verb. We will go over first, second, third, and fourth conjugation.
Verbs, like nouns, have their own endings, those being present, perfect, and passive, which you will also need to memorize. These will be very useful to know when translating, and will make it much more easier.
Verbs have 2 voices, active and passive, and 3 tenses for each voice. There's also a present active infinitive, which is always the second word or second principal part.
For example, terio, teriare, teri, teritis, to frighten in third singular feminine. First, add the present active infinitive, which will be the second word, teriare.
For the first and second conjugation in the present tense, you go to the second principal part and minus the re to get the stem. Then you add your personal ending. For the imperfect tense, you add ba to the stem, then add your personal ending. For the future tense, you add bo, bb, bb, boo, depending on the person, to the stem, then add your personal endings.
Wait, do I add an ending for bo?
No, the ending is already done for you. For the perfect tense, you go to the third principal part and minus the long I to get your stem. Then add your personal ending. For the pluperfect tense, you add era to the stem, then your personal ending. For the future perfect tense, you add arrow or eri based on the person, then your personal ending.
Passive voice is similar to active voice, but instead you use passive endings instead of active.
For present, imperfect, and future passive, you use the stem from the second principal part, then add your endings based on the tense, then your passive endings. Next, for perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive, go to the fourth principal part and take away the US to get the stem. Then add your gender endings based on the gender and person. So for this, it's singular feminine, so you get an A. Now you add your forms of sum based on the person, which is third singular.
Now let's do kuro, kurare, kukuri, cursus, to run in third person plural masculine. Again, the present active infinitive is the second word, so that would be kurare.
For third conjugation in the present tense, you go to the second principal part and minus ere. Then add your vowels o-i-i-i-i-u, depending on the person, then your endings. For imperfect tense, you add iba to the stem, then your personal ending. For future tense, you add ham and eggs, depending on the person, and then your personal endings.
For the perfect tense, you go to the third principal part and minus the long I to get your stem, then you add your perfect endings. For the pluperfect tense, you add era to the stem, then your personal endings. For For the future perfect tense, you add ero or eri, depending on the person, then your personal endings.
For present, imperfect, and future passive, you use the stem from the second principal part. Then add your endings based on the tense, and then add your passive endings. Next, for perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive, go to the fourth principal part and take away the US to get the stem. Then add your gender endings based on the gender and person. So for this, it's third plural masculine, so you add a long I. Now, you add your forms of assume based on the person, which is third singular.
Finally, let's decline perennial, perenire, perenni, perentis to reach arrive in third singular neuter. For the fourth conjugation in present tense, you go to the second principal part and minus the ending ire, then add your vowels, this time with an I, then your endings. For the imperfect tense, you add ieba to the stem, then your personal endings. For the future tense, you add hem and eggs, but with an I, then your personal endings.
Remember, the steps for perfect active voice will be the same.
For the perfect tense, you go to the third principal part and minus the long I to get your stem, then you add your perfect ending. For the pluperfect tense, you add era to the stem, then your personal ending. For the future tense, you add ero or eri, depending on the person, then your personal ending.
For present, imperfect, and future passive, you use the stem from the second principal part. Then, add your endings based on the tense, then your passive endings. Next, for perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passive, go to the fourth principal part and take away the US to get the stem. Then, you add your gender endings based on the gender and person. So for this, it's third singular neuter, so you add an of. Now, you add your forms of assume based on the person and tense, which is third singular.
So, what do we do now?
Well, there's one more thing we should mention. Remember the ablative case with the declining of nouns and adjectives?
Yeah?
Well, they have their own uses you'll need to recognize.
Number 1, ablative place where and from which is used when referring to location.
For example, the girl walks out of the forest.
Ablative of means is a noun, a thing, in the ablative case without a preposition in line.
Example, the girl calls her horse with a whistle.
3, ablative of accompaniment is a noun, often a person/thing, in the ablative case with the preposition cum in line.
Example, the girl plays with her horse.
Number 4, ablative of manner is a noun, always an emotion, in the ablative case with the preposition cum in line.
Example, the girl feeds the horse apples with joy.
Number 5, ablative of agent, a person/thing in the ablative case, and the preposition long a/ab is used with passive verbs.
Example, the girl had been kicked by the horse.
Now we hope this video was helpful.
We know we didn't go over everything that we learned over the past year.
But if you need help with anything, we recommend that you reach out and ask your teachers and classmates. Or maybe even create your own study groups or group chats to help each other out.
Also, don't use Google Translate. Listen to Miss Foley when she tells you that it does not work. As long as you take the time to look over the charts, you will be prepared for the next 3 years at BLS.
Now, there's a Latin quote that goes, ad astra per aspera, to the stars through difficulties. You will face many challenges at Boston Latin School, but I ask that you keep persevering and moving forward. It will all pay off in the end, and you will be guaranteed a bright future.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on.
Huh, you sound like a YouTuber, Filipe.
Alright, well, that's it from us.
We'll see y'all when we see y'all.
Next year at BLS.
Sumus
Primus.
Primus.
Primus.